The BUT president is back to work, but some union executives say not for long. A PLP MP calls Bahamas Junkanoo Carnival garbage. Jitney drivers up in arms over government's relocation plans. Plus, a suspect in that G-Spot nightclub shooting turns himself in. We've got those stories and a whole lot more coming up tonight. I'm Gwani Toot and NB12 starts now. Topping news tonight, 1 week after her dramatic confrontation with acting union president Zane Lightbourne, Bahamas Union of Teachers president Belinda Wilson was back to work today after securing an injunction. However, some executive committee members say their battle with Wilson is far from over.
We know nothing of a press conference today, but it is for her to be disrespectful to the executive committee.
That's all fine and dandy, right? That's all fine and dandy, and it sounds you're saying. But we as a press corps will not take anybody abusing us.
9 days after tensions escalated outside BUT headquarters, Union President Belinda Wilson called reporters back there today to announce the Supreme Court has granted an injunction, allowing her to return to work with immediate effect.
The injunction restrains the executive committee from interfering with me in the course of my duties, and the court has also given leave for a judicial review in this matter.
Wilson was recently reinstated as BUT president after a brief suspension. However, tempers flared outside union headquarters last week as acting union president Zane Lightbourne and several other members of the executive committee stood at the entrance and argued with Wilson. She said today she hopes to put the drama behind her.
It is my hope that we can deal with our matters internally and that no further damage will be done to the union's image, and that the executive committee is prepared to work for the betterment of the members and the organization.
However, BUT Secretary General John Musgrove says while union executives have decided to respect the ruling, they will not sit back and accept it.
No, it's not over. By a long shot, it's not over. We know she has avenues, legal and otherwise, to pursue. We will allow her to pursue them. Likewise, the executive committee that represents the Bahamas Union of Teachers, we have our avenues to pursue, and we will pursue them. And she should do the honorable thing and just accept the punishment with pay, the 6 months vacation.
Musgrove says they will seek to have that injunction quashed.
Being the law-abiding citizens that we are, we will allow her to come in the office and do a work and abide by the injunctions. However, I must say that as we speak, our lawyers are in the court, and we are going to counter that injunction.
Failing that, Musgrove says they will wait until the annual general meeting to decide on the positions of executives. Wilson was suspended last December over 2 alleged violations. Treasurer Lori Knowles was suspended for 4 months for similar violations. The appeals committee of the BUT lifted that suspension just over a week ago after it found no wrongdoing on the part of Wilson or Knowles. However, Lightbourne called the appeals committee's decision flawed, while Wilson says it's time to move on.
As I continue to work for the thousands of members of the BUT, my first priority is to lead the negotiating team to a successful conclusion of a new industrial agreement for 2013-2016, which we would have started some 8 months ago. Our members are ready for their things.
Days after the Bahamas Christian Council asserted that Bahamas Junkanoo Carnival would promote incest and rape, Progressive Liberal Party MP and BEC Chairman Leslie Miller is also slamming that festival, calling it garbage. Miller says while he wishes organizers the best, he wants no part of that event, which he says he has grave concerns about.
If you want to import garbage to my country, I take exception to it, to be honest with you, as a member of parliament, as a Bahamian. And I say garbage because if what the man told me, I was there one time as a minister of trade and industry in Trinidad when they had the thing. It didn't impress me. I saw a lot of vulgarity, things that, everybody, I don't know how to use the word, hitting on each other. It was almost a sexual situation in broad daylight, Yeah. So I really don't have any appetite for it. But who the hell am I? I'm only the port kick anyhow. Nobody listens to me, so You ain't gonna worry about my views.
Bahamas Junkanoo Carnival is set for May 7th to the 9th and is expected to cost $9 million in its initial run. The Tall Pines MP says he refuses to have any involvement with Junkanoo Carnival.
I want part of it myself. None. I don't want to get involved in it. I just wish him the best. But I might have my own grave reservations as to whether this is in the best interest of our country.
There has been much criticism of the festival, with some people asserting that Bahamian culture is being compromised for something foreign. Miller says he prefers Junkanoo.
I'm not enthused about it, to be honest with you. I think that Junkanoo that we have is our own brand. I don't accept the word carnival that we imitate, but we are great imitators. That's what we've been doing all our life, is imitate instead of being original in our thoughts and in our views with regard to what we should be as a people. I hope that it works. I'm not one of those who's going to say hurrah about it, because I believe in Junkanoo. I've been a Junkanoo all my life. And I think what we have, we should be spending money branding what we have instead of imitating or transcending other person's culture.
In other news, more than 30 private jitney owners and operators are up in arms over government's decision to relocate a downtown bus stop as of Monday. Jitney franchise holders and operators lined up several dozen jitneys in the parking lot at the Mall at Marthorne today. Simone Davis has the details.
In a press release titled Bahamians Unwelcomed on Bay Street, member of the transportation industry Ruben Ramming said he believes Bahamians have been losing their right of access, and the new bus relocation has left bus drivers feeling unwanted and inconvenienced. He noted that they were unaware of the change until they saw a public announcement stating that the relocation would take effect on February 2nd. He said he believes there is a constitutional and cultural right that is systematically being taken away, and the removal of another public bus stop without consultation is an example of that.
The issue at hand is the escalation of the removal of Bahamian patrons off of Bay Street and the affording of free access and freedom of movement throughout Bay Street on the public transportation system. What we begin to see here now is what we see as a systematic approach nationally, and it's been going on for quite some time, towards the loss of access of Bahamian people to their rightful patrimony, their rightful land.
Now, these bus drivers say they are not only frustrated in the changes for themselves, but they are more concerned that these changes would be a hassle to residents who regularly rely on public transportation. Ramming said this is more of a social issue than a national issue.
So the stand that we take here today is not just simply a bus issue. It's about those valued passionates that we have. We see now that the removal of this passionate collection site from the Royal Bank of Canada is going to result in mama and the child and the student and the household mother, the worker, most of them having to now traverse up to half a mile now. That's right. To the outskirts of town. That sounds familiar, hey? To the outskirts of town, where they got to congregate in large quantities without shelter, regardless of the weather, to be collected at one spot. I mean, that is blatant disregard. We cannot allow that to happen to our people in our capital.
It affects me personally by affecting my customers. And what affect my customers affect me personally. I'm currently driving in the east in Fox Hill, where we have a lot of elderly people who created and started the straw market. It hurts me every morning. I have to let them off east of East Street, and they have to take a long journey with all of their luggage down to the straw market. So that alone affects me, because when I see each of those elderly ladies, I see my mother.
Other bus operators said they believe the relocation of the bus stop simply makes no sense and would be a major inconvenience to both the drivers and passengers. They said they are concerned about the distance, which they claim is just under a quarter of a mile. Some drivers even said they fear that they will eventually lose business this way and would not be able to feed their families.
But what they're trying to do, I don't see where it's going to be sensible or convenient to anybody, the bus drivers or the customers, due to the fact that right now in front of Huffers, the 9 and 11, it's barely enough space to accommodate those two routes. So for you to want to put 9 other routes in that small space really makes no sense.
Can you explain to me why we didn't look at something like making the bus stop from Market Slip to Charlotte Street, which would have been far more space. We can still allow the loading access. We can still allow the handicap access at the sidewalks. And bus owners, because I am an owner and a driver, bus owners, bus drivers, franchise owners are able to feed their children and live good.
One driver said there is already lack of space for jitneys on Bay Street, and he has already lost customers because it is hard for them to maneuver through that area.
I tell them I can't stop there because I ain't got a ticket. I ain't got no money to be giving the government like that. I can carry to the bus stop. They mad at me. Sure they mad at me. They don't get me the bus no more.
Reiterating that the main issue in this situation is the right of access, Raming said this issue makes him feel as though the government makes the country more comfortable for tourists before they do the same for Bahamians in their own country.
They want passengers to come downtown, but they have a problem with you having to wait there to catch a bus or to transit through downtown. They don't mind crowds of tourists, but they just don't want crowds of you. This is a systematic problem that we have here.
Raming called for the Prime Minister to get involved in the matter. He noted that members plan to meet on Thursday to discuss their next step before they meet with the Road Traffic Department on Friday. Our news team left messages for the Minister of Transport and Aviation, Glenys Hannah Martin, and the Controller at the Road Traffic Department, Ross Smith, but they were not returned up until news time. Reporting for NB12, I'm Simone Davis.
People posing as dentists are reportedly conducting procedures that only licensed professionals are allowed to carry out. Today, the registrar of the Bahamas Dental Council gave NB12 a look into what he called the underground dental industry. Kyle Joaquin reports.
It's one part of the body you don't want to take any chances with, your mouth. In there, your teeth, and if aching can produce probably the most excruciating pain you've ever had to experience. According to the registrar of the Bahamas Dental Council, Dr. Sparkman Ferguson, there are people pretending to be dentists carrying out procedures without the proper training and without a license.
The public needs to know. The public needs to know that legal dentistry is practiced in bona fide dental facilities and in government clinics. That's where all the legal dentistry is taking place. Any place other than that where you go to have any dental services, you ought to have your antennas up right away that there's something wrong. There's something that's wrong with this.
Ferguson says they've seen cases of these imposters carrying out procedures in their homes, in spas, and even in garages. According to Ferguson, there was recently an incident in Freeport where a dental assistant had been carrying out various procedures in her doctor's office without his knowledge. But it wasn't until she attempted to do a tooth extraction, which ended up taking 4 hours, that she was caught. The person who suffered the most as a result? The patient. That case, Ferguson said, was the worst they've had in a while. Now, one of the more popular procedures done by these imposters is teeth whitening. It's done by this little device right here, and according to Dr. Ferguson, if not done correctly, even that can be dangerous.
And because it seems to be such a simple thing, people think, well, I can do that, and then off they go. They decide that they're going to go ahead and start doing it. But once again, in order to put your fingers in a person's mouth for fees, you are practicing dentistry in the Bahamas.
Ferguson says teeth whitening is a relatively simple procedure. However, it requires an acidic gel that is not supposed to touch the gums. Despite that, though, Ferguson says there are some still making money off others by carrying out this procedure.
This is the reason why persons are able to go on YouTube or see it advertised and determine, they can do it themselves. So there are a lot of self-help whitening things that people can do.
And despite do-it-yourself teeth whitening videos like this one on YouTube,
if you use this while you're using the kit, it actually gives you faster results and it makes your teeth a little bit whiter. So I would highly suggest using this, which I've used it both times.
Ferguson says it's always best to check out a licensed professional. So the next time you visit your dentist, you may want to ensure that he or she has a license, just like this one. Reporting for NB12, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
When NB12 returns, Bahamians sound off on Cable Bahamas' proposed price increase. The details are after this break.